I feel like all math teachers expect, just because they're good at math, to, like, when they teach it, they expect people to get it really fast. And I feel like that was one of the main reasons, like, being, like, feared of judging, like, being judged for something you don't know. But, like, now in this math class, that's a good thing. Like, if you don't know, it means that there's more space for you to improve and evolve as, like, a person in math and everything.
One of the main questions kids ask is, how am I going to apply this to the real world? And this really helps us. Like, you don't have to ask the question, it's right there.
Before taking this class, I had trouble completing the NWEA test or any of the last year final exams. I feel a lot more accomplished having completed the geometry final this year with a B+.
With the project, it's more, oh, I want to do this project because it's interesting.
Okay.
With the work, it's more just, okay, I'll do this, but I really don't find this interesting.
I've grown a lot from feeling like failing isn't an option and just failing was embarrassing to now being like it's okay to fail because failing leads to growth. And especially in this class, it teaches you that failing is just another step towards success.
Before I was in Miss Gordon's class, like middle school and all of that, I never really passed the math class until I got into this hands-on class. Because I didn't used to like math, but this class made me like math more because it's like more projects and more hands-on things.
This semester than previous years on like terms of understanding the subject, because before in like 6th and 7th grade, I'll be honest, I wasn't really understanding it, but now I kind of understand like the subject and why, you know.
It's really really fun, and like I enjoyed it. I enjoyed math before, but now I could say like I laugh in a math class. I enjoy myself. Like it's like it doesn't feel like a task. It feels like something that I look forward to going to this class. You know, it's fun. I get to collaborate, and it's a good environment. You know.
I love how it's real world problems. Back in like algebra and those classes in middle school, it was just like multiplication, division. I love how now we're learning how to lease a car, maybe make a budget for the future. I don't know. I just really love that.
And plan vacations accordingly, and like the budget that I'm gonna need to, like, for my whole trip, the flight, the hotel, the extracurricular activities I would like to do somewhere. It's just really it's better.
I feel like what we're doing, I learn it better because, like, connecting something you'll do in real life or something in real life to math, like, I have a connection to it and I have a reason to remember it. Like,
Well, I'm gonna say I think I learned more in this class because I remember in my 8th grade I couldn't understand what's basic math. I came to high school and I was in terror with math.
I know it was hard for a lot of people to make the switch, but it helped a lot going from this basic algebra 2 to this project-based learning, which really opened up our eyes, I think, if that makes sense. Not only helping in the future, it helps in the present as well. I think that's awesome.
That's great.
It's crazy to see how all those students just talked about their math class. They were all different ages and came from different schools across the district. But the one thing they did have in common is that when they recorded those clips, they were all MLP students. MLP is the Math Literacy Project. It is a project-based curriculum written by MPASS Education. I am a co-founder and the current STEM director of MPASS. I would like to let the founder and CEO, Theresa Morris, take over and explain a bit more about herself and the MLP curriculum as a whole.
I've been an educator for over 30 plus years. My classroom experience includes kindergarten through graduate level courses. I was the director of mathematics for a large urban school district. I've been in curriculum and assessment author for over 20 years. Most importantly, I was a key architect for the Smarter Balance performance tasks, having written over 95% of the original tasks used, and that includes the tasks used in CASP. I'm also the architect for the newly revised AP, SAT, and ACT test. I was previously with Stanford Center for Assessment Learning and Equity at Stanford University. The Math Literacy Project came about because in Antelope Valley we wanted to address the situation where students were entering high school and having a math content knowledge that was 3 to 5 years below grade level, but that these students performed adequately well in other subject areas. We soon come to realize that a large population of students entering their 9th grade year enter 3 to 5 years below grade level. So this has served a great need within Antelope Valley. The immediate goal of the program is to disrupt the failure experiences. Studies show that students who have had 3 failure experiences begin to see that subject area as a personal attack on their self. And so they put up walls, they put up defensive walls, and to the point that they won't even start. They will not even attempt to listen or participate or engage in the lessons. So that's why our immediate goal is to disrupt that failure experience and begin creating success experiences. Our goal is that at the end of 3 years, students are adult math literate. And what we mean by that is that they will readily apply high school level mathematics content skills within their personal and professional lives to make informed decisions. Bottom line is we want math to no longer be a barrier for student success. The math literacy curriculum has been built over 4 years. It relies upon the use of curriculum embedded and complex performance assessments. It focuses on building mastery of skills within the real world and relevant contexts. It's a spiral design over the 3 to 4 years because we know the students who are entering 3 to 4 years below grade level, they have a lot of gaps in their background in mathematics. So we want to make sure we have adequate time to fill in all those gaps as well as build the high school math content knowledge. All of the assessments within the math literacy curriculum, follows the architecture of the National Norm Test. I know that because I've built both. The MLP curriculum and assessments, it includes traditional math problems. So it is the case that your students are getting exposed to the traditional math lessons and math questions as they would appear on SAT, ACT, as they appear on Norm Test, as they would appear on a college entrance exam. So we are giving the students exposure to those kind of questions, but we're building that understanding through performance assessments, which include presentations, demonstrations of concepts. The students create how-to videos. The students are learning by doing. And finally, we have students-created products. I want to talk a little bit about those. The MLP assessments and student-created products include a wide variety of concepts. And let's talk about a few of those. We have an annual exhibit at the MOA, and this has happened since the academic year in 2020, in which we hosted the first faux stained glass windows. During this project, students demonstrate their understanding of a scale drawing, proportional reasoning, circles, chords, tangents, angle measurements, supplemental and complementary angles, and so forth, all while creating this beautiful display. Surprisingly enough, in a math class, students have learned that they can become authors. And in fact, in the top left corner, you see Kayla Maples, who was our first ever student author. She had authored a book to demonstrate her understanding of shadows and how to use shadows and proportional reasoning to determine the height of an object. Her book, called How Tall is Lulu, is featured in the Shadows Project and has gained national recognition. As of April of 2025, 15 books that were authored and illustrated by students have been published and are available for purchase from Amazon. 8 new books are currently in progress. The student authors and illustrators have collectively earned over $3,500. And I want to give a special note to Jimmy Dresden, who's pictured in the bottom left, and his book series, which he's written 3 books with the Mama Timbo, is featured at the Elephant Sanctuary in Texas. It's a tremendous element when students who struggle in math realize math can be used then to write a student-friendly book. Additional student outcomes are really authentic, and it's important that they're authentic to the real world. So in a geometry class, students learning how to take a picture of a piñata and then develop that 3-dimensional figure and to scale and everything else is a true challenge to them, but it's also a true demonstration of their understanding of those geometric concepts. The second picture, students are using a clinometer to measure the angle to the top of a structure, and then using the trigonometric functions to determine the height of that structure. Later, they find out and use the trigonometric functions to determine if an accessibility ramp meets code or not. In the third picture, you have students learning about how to use the line of best fit, whether it's a linear equation or a quadratic equation, to determine the number of rubber bands needed so that an action figure will not hit the ground using a bungee jump. It's interesting to walk in to hear freshmen and juniors arguing about, is it a quadratic or a linear function that best models the relationship between the fall distance and the number of rubber bands. And in our last picture, you see an image created by the students at Pathways High School and their understanding of how to create a scale drawing of their original design, in which they had to demonstrate understanding of circles, proportional reasoning, and similarities in geometric figures. These and many, many others happen within the 4 years, where students learn their high school math content and how that math content relates to real world and the decisions they have to make as adults. Some of our other highlights from the math literacy program. Basically, students are starting to close the achievement gap as shown in the NWEA scores. 82% of MLP students responded on a survey that they now see themselves as capable math learners. On that same survey, 95% of students responded that they feel more confident in math class and making decisions based on mathematical reasoning. Teachers report that in a class participation for math literacy, it averages around 85%, whereas their traditional classes, the participation rate averages at 30%. And our alternative ed schools participating in math literacy, prior to using math literacy, only about 18% of target students earn math credits. But since using math literacy, 82% of students earn math credits. And in fact, at the alt sites, both at Rex and at Desert Winds, you have students requesting more math classes and asking if their math classes can take the place of elective classes. That's just unheard of. Can I take more math classes, please? As I said, the NWEA scores, this is our comparison, and this is nationally, so it includes more than just the Antelope Valley schools. But you can see that in the dark blue is the math literacy students. Now remember, these are the students who have entered high school 3 to 5 years below grade level. And this shows their growth. And in every case, algebra, geometry, and algebra 2, you see a significant difference between the math literacy classes and the traditional classes. The difference actually increases with each consecutive year of being in math literacy. Now, math literacy has expanded nationally. We're in the state of Ohio, and in that state, they have an end-of-course assessment, meaning that the students have to pass an Algebra 1 test as part of their graduation. They use the same category that all the math literacy students enter their freshman year below 3 to 5 years below grade level. And in fact, I know for the case that this particular graph, the Algebra 1 math literacy students, 0 of those students had passed their 8th grade math test for that state. 0 of the math literacy students. Now this graph shows you that about 63% of the math literacy students passed the Algebra 1 exam on their first attempt. The traditional Algebra 1 classes at the same school only had about 25% pass, and the state average was at 49%. So anyone who wants to say, is this really affecting student outcome? Yes, it is. We have NWEA scores and end-of-course assessment scores to show that the students are, in fact, transferring that knowledge to testing environments and doing very well in those testing environments. As always, please visit MPASS Education website for more information. I hope you've enjoyed learning more about math literacy. Thank you,